A few days ago, we did this same topic with Thomas Tatar, also of the Montreal Canadiens. So today, we're focusing on teams that have been reported to be interested in Ilya Kovalchuk. Now, before we get into actually talking about these teams, their different scenarios, how Kovalchuk can fit in with them, and any potential returns, let's talk a little bit more about Kovalchuk in general, because we've already made a few videos talking about him and the Montreal Canadiens, but right now Kovalchuk is at 11 points in 14 Habs games played. He's been really productive, and the energy that he brings is unmatched by anybody else on this team. Seriously, we talked about this in the previous video, but when Ilya Kovalchuk scored the shootout winner against New Jersey, he comes in, he shoots it, he scores it, and he puts his finger up to the crowd and silences them. Oh boy, that's what you love to see as a hockey fan, the attitude, putting it to the crowd. And not only that, according to this tweet over here, Lindgren was only able to stop Nikita Gusev because Ilya Kovalchuk told him that he was going to shoot 5-hole. That is some 4D chess going on over there by Ilya Kovalchuk. I don't need to go into a super in-depth commentary to talk about the positive impact that Kovalchuk has had on this team. The guy just knows how to put the puck in the net. He's a dangerous offensive threat every time he has the puck, and Habs fans know this. Sure, they're not in a playoff spot, but having Kovalchuk is great. Here are some comments about Ilya Kovalchuk talking about his future on the Montreal Canadiens. This was posted onto our Habs. It's all in the hands of the GM and the organization here. But like I said from the first second I came here, I love everything about this team. The way everyone has welcomed me, to the fans who are unbelievable. I know the next 2 weeks will decide everything, and whatever the decision is, I will take it as a man. But this team is special. This group of guys is special. In fact, this is something that I think was actually brought up in the comment section of that same post. Kovalchuk being in Montreal is probably very different than anything Kovalchuk has ever experienced before in North America. Do you think walking down the street, Kovalchuk would be recognized as much as he is in Montreal in cities like New Jersey or in Atlanta? No, I don't really think so. Ilya Kovalchuk has come over into a hockey crazy market where everybody has accepted him and everybody absolutely loves what he brings out there on the ice. For a player who loves the show business side of things, who loves being a personality in the game, being in Montreal is one of the best scenarios out there. So it's not surprising to me to see that Ilya Kovalchuk absolutely loves being a part of this Canadiens organization. They all care. They want to win. They want to be better. All the young guys like Suzuki and Kotkaniemi and Fleury, even though they got sent down, they're all ready to play. This team has a bright future, and if I can be a part of it, that would be really good. So, that kind of lays out the perspective on where Kovalchuk is. Let's go over onto the teams that have reportedly been interested in Kovalchuk, and there are 3 labeled here in the Sportsnet article. It's the Bruins, it's the Flames, and it's the Oilers. On that note, here's what we know, according to this Sportsnet article. The Habs, who are hoping to win at least 6 of their 8 games leading into the February 24th trade deadline, aren't likely to accept less than a second-round pick, or at worst, a conditional third that turns into a second for Kovalchuk's services, should they fall back in the race. So, there's the asking price. It's established here in the article. In fact, it also says that the Bruins might be the most likely team to offer up that kind of compensation for the Russian sniper. Now, this one obviously makes sense. The Bruins are one of the best teams in the NHL this year. They would love nothing more but to add some more high-skill, offensively capable forwards to put into their lineup to go into a long playoff run. Whether or not that sparks a Bruins-Habs trade, I don't really know. But if it's on the table, it's on the table. And if they're the ones who are most likely willing to give up a second or a conditional third that turns into a second, then hey, That sounds pretty nice. The article goes over how the Bruins probably would have been interested in Kovalchuk earlier on when he was with the Kings. However, his contract situation with that team was so bad that they didn't want to take a chance. Now, Kovalchuk is on a $700,000 deal for 1 year. He's expiring in the summer, and this small little chance he was given with the Habs was more of a prove-it-like scenario, and boy oh boy, has Kovalchuk indeed proved it. Other teams that are interested include the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers. They have varying degrees of interest in the Russian sniper. They both have picks to swing it, but Edmonton is cap-strapped, which means adding Kovy could make more sense to them than taking on someone else at a higher salary. The same philosophy applies here. These teams would like to have another player to help their top six in the playoffs. However, the security for these teams to even make the playoffs is definitely not at the same level as a Boston Bruins team who is dominating the league. Both Calgary and Edmonton are in that Pacific wildcard third spot kind of hunt, and it's not really looking like either team is guaranteed at this point to make it. One of them probably will, two of them might, but I'm not sure. So the security on the front of those two teams is a little bit different, but it wouldn't change the fact that they would like Kovalchuk. So where exactly do I see things going? Well, first off, there are a few factors that do actually have to happen. First, the Habs have to start losing games. If they start losing games, that's when they trade Kovalchuk. If they keep winning games, they're going to keep him. But if they do end up losing a few games, and they do end up trading Kovalchuk and whoever else they might have on the trading block, then getting a second-round pick back would be pretty good. And this was the big philosophy that we all talked about back when the Canadiens initially signed Kovalchuk. This is a prove-it deal, and if he's able to prove it, he can get the assets back. But Habs fans love this guy. So, honestly, I think a best-case scenario goes the Habs start to lose the games, they trade away Kovalchuk to a contender, they get a second-round pick back, and because he's a UFA, honestly, I want to bring him back. Seriously, Kovalchuk has been so good with this Habs team, and you can just see the energy that's there, that having him come back for another season, a full season, mind you, that sounds great now, doesn't it? Now that's a very specific Antoine Vermette kind of scenario. If you remember, back in 2015, the Arizona Coyotes, before Phoenix Coyotes, they had Antoine Vermette for a few years. But then in 2015, they traded him to the Chicago Blackhawks. He won a Stanley Cup, and then he came back to Arizona the next year. So if that same kind of thing can happen with Kovalchuk, then boy, oh boy, I would love to see that. But any of these possibilities here, Boston, Calgary, or Edmonton, I can see some really nice Kovalchuk hockey going on. Seriously. Play Kovalchuk with Connor McDavid and we'll see how things turn out. Play him on a first power play with Marchand, Pasternak, and Bergeron and we'll see how things turn out. Play him with Johnny Gaudreau and Monahan and we'll see how things turn out. There are some possibilities here. And Kovalchuk has displayed in Montreal that he's a capable, legitimate top six player, potentially even a first-line player. So a second-round pick doesn't sound too bad for a player like that. It's just because he's old, but even then, even if he is old, he has like literally a few months left on his contract. So there's nothing left to lose for any of these teams to go after him. It's just whether or not the Habs would be in a position to deal. So, yeah, I honestly don't know what I want to happen with this Habs team. If they lose, they trade Kovalchuk, they get the assets back, and whatever. But if they start winning, then that opens up an entirely new can of worms now, doesn't it? Now, I wouldn't be surprised if the Canadiens started winning and if they forced their way into the playoffs somehow. I would be quite shocked, but I can't say I wouldn't see it coming. So that's an open possibility as well. But at the same time, if there is no guarantee, which in this scenario there isn't, then I don't know what else is going to go on. Kovalchuk's probably going to get traded in that scenario, but we'll have to wait and see. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Boston, Edmonton, or Calgary, comment down below your thoughts on each of these teams taking on Kovalchuk. Social 99, and bye.